All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Uncut History. Yeah, there was a slight delay there. I forgot to elevate the microphone, but now I know she can see like an annoying red dot. Oh, it's still there. The annoying red. Oh, but then you raise it, and then you can see the fan dangling in view. So it's either I push it back, and then you see the mic, or there's no winning. There is no winning today. Or we could just have both and it could be extra annoying. Perfect. Now we have peak perfection. Well, welcome to this week's stream of Uncut History. It's been a week. It's been a few weeks. It's been a few weeks since we were last on the air. I wasn't able to have a stream last week. I was actually out, able to give a presentation. That was very fun. But we're back here this week, and we're going to just shout out a bunch of different historic sites that I have curated here momentarily. But first time this has ever happened, I was handed this week a press release to read on the air by an acquaintance. This has never happened before. I don't know if this will ever happen again. So I'm gonna take that up on that offer. And for the first and only time, Breed Out Production is going to be semi-professional. Look, we have a press release right there, semi-professional. First time ever. All right. So, and I have it popped up on the screen to coincide on Facebook. Gotta get my good narrator voice. And by good narrator voice, I mean the same voice I always talk with that cuts through concrete. The Braddock's Battlefield History Center will present historian Stephen Knuckles, who will bring to life the story of Captain Robert Stobo. From 1754 to 1763, Robert Stobo participated in the French and Indian War in North America, Canada, and the West Indies. Like no other figure in his time, Stobo was drawn to military service and adventure when he joined George Washington's Virginia militia. By sharing Robert Stobo's story, I hope to give you a new insight into the history of Braddock's Battlefield and colonial history of Western Pennsylvania. You'll be enlightened by Stobo, the patriot, prisoner of war, master spy, aide to General Wolfe, and British officer. You'll be entertained by Stobo's attempts to escape, his adoption by Indians, his capture by pirates, and his part in the surrender of Canada, said Mr. Knuckles. The presentation is free and will take place at the Braddock's Battlefield History Center. Mr. Knuckles is a lifelong historian, actor, and reenactor who has appeared in films such as The Last of the Mohegans, on stage at the Kennedy Center, and in public television historical documentaries. Mr. Knuckles has reenacted American history on the anniversary dates of the American Revolution, French and Indian War, Lewis and Clark Expedition, and the War of 1812. And here is the corresponding. Oh, that is okay, Maji. That is okay. We know you're about to go through the grind here in the next coming months with the holiday season. And hail, Ringler, welcome to the stream. But yes, Stephen Knuckles is going to be hosting a presentation at the Braddock's Battlefield History Center, just outside, about 8 miles to the east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as part of the museum's 7-Year War Speaker Series. And this is the Facebook page. I'm actually going to drop the let's go to the Eventbrite link. And if you don't know what Eventbrite is, it's every museum's favorite ticketing manager. I know a thing or two about operating Eventbrite. I wish more people would use it. It's very convenient, though there is a surcharge. It's a bit disappointing. So there's the link if you are in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, Wednesday, October 25th, and you're looking for something to do in the evening. Stephen Knuckles will be presenting about the life and times of Robert Stobo, and Mr. Knuckles has told me Robert Stobo was essentially the Forrest Gump of the French and Indian War. So it should be a very fun presentation indeed. But we got a couple other house cleaning things in order. House cleaning things. Yeah, that's a term. So not last week, the week before, one of the things we talked about was the Bellefonte Historical Railroad Society. They'd been teasing. It looked like that their RDC Bud car 9167 was going to be making a return home. Well, those rumors, well, they weren't really rumors, are true. And it's not just that it's true. The car is going to be back in operation at the end of this month. 9167 will be back in operation. It's the first time the Bellefonte Historical Railroad Society has operated excursions with the Bud car in, I think, almost 2 decades. So it's back in operation, and they are going to have a welcome home event next Friday, October 27th. That'll be at 3 p.m. And then October 28th and October 29th will be all day. They'll be offering excursions. 28th will be 30-minute round trips. And then the 29th, they'll be operating 90-minute round trips all throughout the day. And it's in partnership with the North Shore Railroads, Cedar Cog, and the Bellefonte Intervalley Area Chamber of Commerce. Rolling stock and time subject to change. Always got to put that out there when it comes to railroads. The rolling stock and the schedule itself are always subject to change, as historic railroad equipment can be very finicky at times. And I am actually hoping all would go well. I may be able to actually make this event. I may actually, I'm not saying I'm going to, but I may be able to make this event. And there's a link in the description if you want to learn a little bit more about 9167's return to service on the rails of the Bellefonte Historical Railroad Society. But let's get into the first of our main subjects tonight, and that is going to be today, October 19th, marks the 159th anniversary of the Battle of Cedar Creek. This was a battle fought near Middletown, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley of Northern Virginia, and is essentially how the Union got control of the Shenandoah Valley. So it was pretty far into the war. Wasn't until 1864 that the Shenandoah River Valley was firmly in Union hands. I was going to do more of a conversation about the Battle of Cedar Creek, but considering next year will be the 160th, maybe I'll be able to go down and actually see the 160th events. Or I can have a very long live stream talking about the 160th anniversary. So I figure we'll save that for another stream. But still want to shout out because I'm streaming on the day of the anniversary. And we are here at the Cedar Creek Battlefield Foundation website. Now, the Cedar Creek Battlefield is preserved by a variety of different entities. The National Park Service preserves some of it. Different private entities preserve other segments, but the most predominant entity is the Cedar Creek Battlefield Foundation, where history comes alive at Cedar Creek. Join us for year-round events, hands-on history, and outdoor adventures. We strive to offer our community and visitors a unique collection of experiences, including guided tours, presentations, workshops, school and scout programs, nature hikes, and much more. Register for tours or make a donation. The Cedar Creek Battlefield Foundation is an entirely private, non-for-profit dedicated to the acquisition, preservation, and protection of lands, artifacts, and writings related to the October 19th, 1864 Battle of Cedar Creek. Our mission, to protect and preserve these lands from modern development due to their historical and cultural significance, creates educational and recreational resources for anyone who wishes to learn about our nation's history or seeks a place to go for a break from busy urban life. WCBF manages a history museum, walking and hiking trails, and about 350 acres of battlefield landscape for our visitors and community to enjoy. We also offer living history programs, presentations, lectures, field trips, and scout programs of our foundation, where participants can learn about the Civil War, the history of the Shenandoah Valley, and explore our area's natural resources. As an entirely private organization that does not accept state or federal funding, we continue to operate and offer these programs by way of a combination of donations, grants, corporate sponsorships, event proceeds, gift shop sales, partnerships, and memberships from people like you. So they got a museum and visitor center, 19th core trenches. I presume they must preserve some earthworks. The historic heater house, which was at the epicenter of the battle, and the annual reenactment. A little bit more about the museum. Newly designed and expanded museum features artifacts from the Civil War, the Shenandoah Valley, a digital media center, research library, and conference area. The Visitor Center also has a welcome desk to help you explore the site, book selections, and a shop featuring souvenirs. Local made artisan crafts, reproduction 19th century items, and a picturesque overlook of the historic Belle Grove Plantation, battlefield, and mountain sunset. And I know a little bit more about these 19th century trenches. In the days before the battle, the 19th Corps of the Union Army dug a series of earthworks to fortify their position located south of Middletown. Over 150 years later, the earthworks still snake through the tree line along Cedar Creek. Hiking trails with interpretive markers now follow along these earthworks for visitors to explore, but please stay on the trail, because nothing can get a historian like myself more giddy than piles of dirt in the ground. Historic piles of dirt. That is where it's at, guys. That is where I spend my vacations, looking at humps in the ground. It is awesome. I say that both ironically and unironically. The Heater House, a log structure dating back to 1702, has witnessed hundreds of years of Shenandoah Valley history, including the Battle of Cedar Creek. The house is the only surviving structure of the homestead, which stands against a background of fantastic mountain views. It is beautiful. Though it is typically closed to the public during special weekend events, this home is open for visitors to restore restoration progress, talking to live in history interpreters, and take part in tours to hear its incredible story. And then, of course, the annual reenactment, where history comes alive during our free day event. Annual on the third weekend of October. That this is the first weekend, right? Yep, this weekend. It should be happening this weekend. See cavalry, artillery, and infantry soldiers in action and in camp. Battle scenarios, music, symposia, and medical, military, and civilian demonstrations are scheduled every day. And the reenactment they do at Cedar Creek is one of the, if not the largest annual battle reenactment for the American Civil War. And it's interesting that a battle that's not as known as Cedar Creek has a designation. It has to do with the fact that there's a considerable amount of private property. As you can see there, they have over 300 acres, the double CBF. It's in relatively picturesque landscape. I mean, there's a few modern obstructions like telephone lines, but from the photographs and videos I've seen from the battle reenactment, there's really not a lot different from 1864. And it's a very massive battle. The Battle of Cedar Creek was, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, this is essentially how the Union firmly got their hands on the Shenandoah Valley and why the Shenandoah Valley is so important to the course of the American Civil War and thereby American history. They called it the bed basket, the bed basket, the bed basket. I'm just going to type that in that I said that. The bed basket. I can't even spell bed right now. The bed basket, the bread basket of the Confederacy. The Shenandoah Valley was considered the bread basket of the Confederacy. And if you had control of the Shenandoah Valley, thereby you would have some of the best crops in the United States. The Confederacy had it at the start of the war, and the Confederacy would often use the Shenandoah Valley as a chute to launch attacks, be it small cavalry raids or full-scale invasions into Union states like Maryland and Pennsylvania, because the mountains would screen their movements. In 1862, General Stonewall Jackson famously had a campaign where he ran up and down the Shenandoah Valley and ran circles around the Union armies that were trying to hold it. The Union were kicked out of the valley. In 1863, Robert E. Lee's invasion of the North made their way through onto the Battle of Gettysburg. And in 1864, not a lot of people realized that the Confederacy made one more effort to attack northern states even after Gettysburg. It was comparatively smaller, but it still involved tens of thousands of soldiers. And that was commanded by Jubal Early. Jubal Early moved up the Shenandoah Valley. And when I mean up, I'm going north. It's a little confusing. Actually, going up the Shenandoah Valley would mean south because you're going to the headwaters of the Shenandoah River. It gets confusing. Geography gets confusing. But Early came up the valley in 1864, cleared out small Union forces, and actually got to the outskirts of Washington, D.C. The Confederacy did actually attack Washington, D.C. during the American Civil War. It, it didn't go well for them, as you can imagine. They were turned back. It was more of a feint. They weren't sincerely trying to take the Union capital. It was more of a feint to divert attention from the Union, who were laying siege to Confederate forces around Petersburg, Virginia. And as Early started to pull back into the valley, this is when Philip Sheridan took charge of the situation. And he ended up getting about 50,000 Union soldiers together, marched out of Harper's Ferry, Virginia, and moved into the Shenandoah Valley and decisively defeated Early at the Battle of Cedar Creek. So that is what the Battle of Cedar Creek's all about. And for the final months of the war, the breadbasket of the Confederacy was in firm Union hands. So this is an often overlooked but very important battle. And if you want to explore a bit more about how the CBF preserved this forgotten battle of the American Civil War, well, the link's coming. It's coming in the description. It's in the description, but I'm also going to post it in the link. Move breadcrumbs. I can't think about food right now. I had some really good artisan bread this week. I was at an event this week, and they had they had a portable clay bake oven, and the gentleman, we've actually done a video on him. I think the video's called The 18th Century Way of Making Bread. This name's Justin Cherry, and he operates Half Crown Bakehouse. And he goes to events, period events, and bakes authentic period bread. It was really good. It was really good. I'm getting distracted by food now. I don't have any more of that bread. Won't be till next year. Moving on. We're going to jump across the country now. We're heading to the Northwest Railway Museum. And actually, Maji-chan was actually the one that mentioned this to me. Maji-chan and the Ultimate Kahuna over on a certain gilded, you know what I'm talking about. And I decided I would shout it out. So, the Northwest Railway Museum. Let's read a little bit about it. Well, let's go a little bit farther back. A little bit about the museum. About us. Let's learn a little bit about the Northwest Railway Museum. Northwest Railway Museum was founded in 1957 and is the largest and most comprehensive railroad museum in the state of Washington. The museum is Washington non-for-profit corporation and is recognized by the internal. Okay, yeah, that's the tax info. We don't care about the tax info. Okay, this is the boring tax info stuff. Okay, I want to know the juicy details. I don't care about how you pay your taxes and to keep the federal government off your back. I want to know about what history you talk about. Founded in 1957 as the Puget Sound Railway Historical Association, today the Northwest Railway Museum provides the public a place for visitors to experience the excitement of a working heritage railway and to learn how the railway changed everywhere. I'm getting attacked by a little fly. Through this public programming, the museum has become a vibrant and substantial cultural institution. There's a little bit of a timeline how the museum grew over time. Started in 57, and then in 67, the museum train excursions began. In 1977, the Burlington Northern Railroad donates a depot and portions of their rail line. 1981, said depot was restored. In 1987, railroad excursions were extended to the Northern Bend. And in 1999, the museum officially becomes the Northwest Railway Association. All right. Let's see what you can get up to here. Let's go virtually visit the museum. Now, this is on the whole. I am in Pennsylvania, and this is over in Washington State. That's a lot of ground to cover. So I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to go. So this might be my own chance to talk a bit about it. The Northwest Railway Museum is our region's largest railway museum with 5.5 miles of historic track and campuses. The museum exhibits, preserves, restores, and operates trains on which the public can experience the excitement of a working railway. The museum is a proud participant in the Museums for All and King County Library System fee and reduced admissions program. And there is a map of the rail system. My cat just knocked something over out there, probably. Anyways, so there you can see the North Bend extension that we talked about earlier, the Railway History Center. I presume that's where your excursion begins. The historic. Do I dare pronounce that? Snoqualmie. Snoqualmie. We're going to go to Snoqualmie Depot and then up to the Snoqualmie Falls and eventually to Falls City. Boarding locations. Oh, okay. The historic. That depot. I'm done naming that. That depot is on the National Registry of Historic Places and is the longest continually operated train depot in the state of Washington. Free to visit 7 days of the week. Closed Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, and New Year's. Limited access during Day Out with Thomas. I guess Thomas invades the building. Museum visitors can view railroad history exhibits from the former gentleman's waiting room and freight room. The former ladies' waiting room now houses the bookstore, railroad history-themed books, and gift shop. Public restrooms maintained by the city are available on the raised platform and at the depot. There's also the North Bend Depot. North Bend Depot is owned and operated by a community space. Okay. Let's get to the juicy stuff. Railway History Campus. That sounds good. Let's go there. But first, that is a pretty cool. Let's actually go to the depot. I want to see more about this depot. That is a cool depot. Yeah, that was worth that was worth saving. That is cool. And then we go back here. Let's go to the main campus. Train Shed Exhibit Hall. They got a lovely 25 square foot structure housing locomotives, passenger cars, freight cars, and maintenance of way cars. Exhibits and artifacts in a Train Shed Exhibit Hall allow visitors to explore our past in railroading. Railway history. Oh, that's a pretty cool looking building. Railway Education Center houses the museum's archival vault library. Man, I got a lot here. I mean, some of these railroad museums that we've covered on the Preservation Shout Out before, normally they're very small grassroots operations and they don't have a lot to work with. And sadly, a lot of their equipment is outdoors because they can't afford to have a indoor facility, and that can definitely damage the equipment, especially its operating. But these guys, they got a full library, archive space, administrative offices, and that's separate from the actual exhibit hall. And then we have another separate room here, the conservation and restoration workshop. Sound like a fancy term though for a roundhouse, but they got a lovely restoration shop here. And they're okay, so they are working on a permanent roundhouse. Okay, is did they own a rotary snowplow? Is that a rotary snowplows are pretty cool. So it looks like they're working. So they already got a lot on their campus, but they're working for a finalized roundhouse gallery that is the opportunity for the museum to reimagine its place in the community and expand its role as a regional leader. It will be a unique structure of historical inspired design elements from locomotive facilities of the steam era. As a space gallery, it will interpret the roles of railroads in the development and settlement of Washington state. Oh, this will also include a display of the chapel car, its role in manifest death. Wow. So is that a car like from the development of the Transcontinental Railroad as they were going west? That is cool. The Chapel Car, American Baptist Publication Society 5, its role in Manifest Destiny, expanding religious movements to civilize the West. Oh, they got a rotary snowplow. Cool. Its role in connecting East and West across Cascade Mountain passes and the consequences of heavy snow and avalanches. If you have not, and we might before the stream's over, if you have not seen the rotary snowplow OY, which is owned by the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad, pull up a video. It is one of the most coolest looking things. It's the most real world steampunk thing ever created. Rotary snowplows are just cool to watch. Oh, they got a Pullman sleeper car, Plymouth switcher, steam crane, and of course, they got a steam locomotive. All right. So that is the museum, but you can also ride a train here. So let's see what they're. Yeah, you didn't really impress there with your big pipes. No, you didn't impress. You know, some of these people out here, they I'm in the middle of nowhere, but they'll burn their tires. And who are they impressing? I'm the only one here. And impressing me. Anyways. Excursion schedule. Ooh. Departing weekends, board in North Bend or that name there. Round trip, approximately 2 hours. 10:30, 12:30, 2:30. Ooh, and they do have a steam train. Obviously, that goes up a few perks in the world. First weekends of October and November, join us Saturday and Sundays, the first weekend of November, for a ride with the steam locomotive. $36 a person, 30 per senior, 18 a child. Halloween trains, last 3 weekends of October, the Santa Limited. So they got a variety of rolling stock here. So they do have steam trains. They do have steam trains. All right. You guys are like, oh God, we're going to be here forever. He's just going to, oh, you can operate a train. Look, you can operate a train. I like trains. I like to operate train. Steam locomotive 924 is an 1899 Rogers built 060, served the North Pacific Railway in Washington until 1923 and continued to service for the Inland Empire Paper Company until donated to the museum in 1969. Today, 924 is a King County landmark. Wonder if they have a page online exhibits. Oh, there we are. Railroad changed everything. The railroad built the Pacific West. The railroad built the whole of the United States. Oh, I want to look a bit more at this chapel car. Religion arrives on the frontier by train. As the railroad expanded westward in the late 19th century, morals, moderation, and stability of frontier communities were often left to whims of citizens, or they were at best an afterthought of their founders. Yeah, that's why they called the communities for the work crews as they moved west hell on wheels for a reason. Frontier and mining towns of the south and east were similarly affected. In scores of communities, there was little evidence of any organized religion. And in 19th century America, this was widely viewed as a moral failing. So when there was no such church and no such pastor in the eyes of many gentlefolk of the day, there was little hope of salvation. That would change in hundreds of settlements and communities across the country, though. Organized religion had discovered how to use the railroad as a tool of modern evangelism. Evangelism. Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Again, the goddamn robot Shinji. So the same railroad that brought vice to the frontier was about to bring, at least in the eyes of the church, as a general society value of day, civility, morality, stability, and faith. This is so cool. I've never heard of these cars before. I've never heard of this before. God damn, why do you have to be all the way across the state? Or across the state, all the way across the country? So let me go back over here, and I'm going to drop a link for the Northwest Railway Museum. And if you're in the area, be sure to stop by and visit. I think the Ultimate Kahuna visited this week, if I'm not mistaken. And Wrangler posts in 18 wheelers are just free range strange. Yes. Yes, they are, basically. But Steam is cooler. Steam is cooler. All right. Eh, where am I at next? All right. Well, I think this is the first time on the stream that we're jumping to a historic site from another country. And we're going to Japan. I know I say it weird. I like saying it weird, but I don't want to offend anybody. And we are actually going to the Sugaya Tatara Sannai ironworking village. Now, very briefly, Tatara just essentially means ironworks in Japanese. At least that's what I've gathered. Now, their way of iron making, this is far older than the iron making that I am used to talking about, and Americans are used to learn about the Bessemer, the Kelly Bessemer process that Andrew Carnegie used all throughout the Pittsburgh area and eventually was used throughout the United States, throughout much of the Western world. This stuff predates it by hundreds of years. A lot of people neglect the fact that Japan were probably the best iron makers prior to, I guess, want to say the creation of the United States, prior to westward expansion in North America. They also were the best, especially between the sixth, especially around the 16th, 17th centuries. These were the best guys with firearms. Japan were the best people with firearms in the 16th century, even in the 15th century. I'm going over the place. Let's talk about the Tatara Sannai ironworking village. Sannai is an ironworking village with a complex of iron-making facilities and residential buildings for employees. The feature of this characteristic conglomerate settlement still remain in Sugaya, Tatara Sannai, and Yoshida Town, Una City, that resulted in the village being designated as an important, tangible folk cultural property in 1967. Sugaya Tatara operated for 130 years until 1921 and was the front line of ironmaking for the Tanabe family. Furthermore, the remains of iron sand screening sites, accompanied by sluices and watercourses, also remain close to the settlement, allowing one to visit and observe the entire process of the industrial heritage that dates back to the early modern period. The architectural heritage of Sugaya Tatara Sannai. And you can see there's revolving images over here of the Takadona. The workshop building where a furnace is equipped is called Takadono. It is a square in shape, measuring 18 meters by 18 meters, and has the furnace installed in its middle, that clay thing, that's the top of the furnace. Bellows are present on each side of the furnace with storage spaces called kogamachi for iron sand and sumimachi for charcoal. In addition, Miragi's break space called Muragaze. Why did I pick so many difficult names for a Yinzer when I'm so fatigued? It is found inside the building. This is a significant symbolic piece of architecture in the Tatara culture. It is now the only surviving Takadono in Japan that remains in its original state. I mean, there were hundreds of these back in the day, and this is the only one in pristine condition. In addition to the Takadono surviving, we also got to Motogoa in existence, which was an administration office to manage the whole village. The building also had another function, such as a workshop called, I'm not pronouncing that, for crushing kira and sorting pieces into different ranks, while the building served as a residence for the first general manager, who was appointed by the Tanabe family. The Komegura is a storage building for keeping rice that was paid as wages to the employees of Sannai. Nagaya means a terraced house. This building has three households joined by a row. The westernmost residence is called Nabanyashiki, second mansion, and is occupied by the second manager and his family. So the first manager and his family live in the Motogoya, which was also the administration offices, and it looks like the second and third managers, they lived in these. I guess you want to say this is the Tatara form of the patch houses, which we are used to here in Pennsylvania with the patch towns. They were duplexes that were typically set up for coal miners and coke oven workers. And this is the real reason I'm talking about it. Sugaya Tatara Sannai is known as a model for an iron-making village that is illustrated as a key factor to the story in a Japanese animated epic known as Princess Mononoke. May or may not know a thing or two about that movie. may or may not have a whole display for the movie right over there. On the other hand, principal workers such as swordsmiths, charcoal makers, and tamagane, which all are significant Tatar ironworkers, are illustrated in the Japanese epic fantasy film Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yabe. So Demon Slayer is probably more big with the kids today than Princess Mononoke. But so this site has inspired the creation of two major settings in two major Japanese films. If you have a chance to watch these films, your enjoyment of the Sugaya, Tatara, Sannai site and its surrounding landscape will be further enhanced by recalling the scenes from the movie and animations. In addition, this is the actual town. So this is a small village. I guess again, this is what we call the patch town for the Tatar Ironworks. And then here is like the main town. This is the main town, independent of the ironworking process. The town of Yoshida and Una City is surrounded by mountains. It was developed as the home ground of the Tanabe family, the most powerful business family in the Tatara industry. The business owners in this region's iron making industry were called Teshi, meaning iron makers. They used to own and run several iron-making sites around the town. Blacksmith workshops for Okaji were located close to their residential property, which allowed them to practice integrated business operations. Tanabe family had long been appointed as a chief teshi by Matsu Domain during the Edo period that allowed them to receive recognition as one of the top Tatara entrepreneurs. With the advent of the Meiji period, more productive Western-style iron-making methods Besser Kelly method, and the importation of cheaper raw iron had begun. Thus, the Tatara industry gradually declined, and their Tatara business was finally closed in 1923. But that's pretty darn impressive that you last into the 20th century. Considering here in Western Pennsylvania, our blast furnace business, the old school blast furnace business, where you would build stone pyramid looking furnaces that were fueled by charcoal, and you would drop the load of iron ore from the top and then you would end up getting the pig iron as a result. Those did not last long. Those were a very fleeting period in the 18th going into the 19th century. So they're stores for the Tanabe family. They have the Historical Museum of Iron. The Museum of Iron is in Una City to talk all about the Tatara culture. And in addition to all of that, they actually do operate the Takadono of this surviving Tatara operation. The method of Tatara has now been restored with the aid of contemporary technology. Modern Tataras operate several times a year at an interactive workshop, Unawaka Production, and Exploring Tatara Experience at Yoshida Town, which aims at passing down the expertise to future generations. And this is an art form. It's an art form. I mean, it's a trade, but it also is almost an art form that because I mean, this is all it's all hand done essentially. I mean, basically, you're pumping air, pumping the charcoal as needed in, and just very gradually getting your iron hot enough. Oh, they do mini Tatara experience for the kids. Paper knife making, a lot of cool stuff here. So yeah, this is a museum and but also an educate well, museums are education facilities. It's an education facility in Japan. It is the most intact example of a ironworking village in Japan. It still survives. So once again, we've been talking about the Sugaya Tatara Sani, which is the iron making village that was owned by the Tanabe family, the most powerful Tatara family in Japan. I believe it's located near Una City. Near Una City. So I'm going to drop a link if you want to learn more about that. Apologize if some of the commentary has been a bit bare bones, especially on this. I'm going through a lot of different terminology that's chased all of you off probably. And there he is. Yeah, literally the iron. This is literally the Iron Age. This is the Iron Age. I just found that the Tatara settings are just so cool. I mean, when I first saw the Tatara portrayed in Princess Mononoke, I never been exposed to how iron making was done beyond ancient civilizations and beyond the Besser Kelly system. So it was beautiful to watch it animated and then to see it in real life, see these images, see these structures. Oh, I'd love to go there. How do you plan to go there? Let's plan to go there. How do I go there? Recommend an itinerary. 3-day trip, 2-day trip, so they break it down. Okay, that's pretty cool. Explore the city, explore the Tatar Ironworks. Of course, go to the Historical Museum of Iron, and then explore more of the city. Explore the city, explore the iron, explore the city. I like that. Explore the city, explore the iron, explore the city. So yeah, that is the most intact surviving example of a Tatara ironworks in Japan. All right. All right. You guys could probably tell I'm pretty winded. It's been a month, and we still got another week to get through this month. I got a video out last Saturday. That's part of our duology on Harper's Ferry, and we talked a lot about in that video about the industries of Harper's Ferry, particularly the armory and arsenal, and then how kind of segue into how that was all destroyed by the American Civil War, and the federal government had to get rid of all of that property in a hurry. And Free Will Baptist ended up purchasing it and finding Storer College, which was the first African American college in the state of West Virginia. So it was a fun video to do. I apologize if it was a little light of on-site filming. A lot of that was just when we went there, we filmed a lot on John Brown, filmed a lot about the Battle of Harper's Ferry, and that'll be coming in the next video. But there's a lot of cool stuff in Harper's Ferry, a lot of little side stories that really have nothing to do with the American Civil War, but the town is historic in its own right. It was there for a half century before the war. So I want to talk about more about the daily life of Harper's Ferry from the late 1700s through the present day. So that's why the first video was more on the armory and arsenal itself, and then Storer College. Next episode, Retracing History, that's going to be more focused on the battles that were fought around the town. I do not know when that is going to be released. I would like to get it out next weekend. I don't know for certain. So I'm fearing I'm supposed to have next weekend off. But I'm also going to try to use that weekend to get a lot of videos done. I want to go out traveling. I want to go see more. I want to go finally build a little bit of a library up, because winter's coming here in Pennsylvania. And once winter comes, there really isn't a lot of going outside and traveling to see historic sites. A lot of staying indoors and keeping warm and reading very good books, which I bought these at the library like a month ago, and it's been sitting in one of our back rooms here. So I got this lovely book I'll have to get for this winter. Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers. So I think this is going to be I believe this is going to be not about the Alamo, but I believe it's going to be about the battle of the battle of, what's it called? San Juanito, San Jacinto. I think it's about San Jacinto, exactly. Man, I'm butchering. Let's just butcher all the words tonight. Let's butcher Spanish, Japanese, English. Let's just butcher all the languages tonight. I can't even say butcher. I just say busher. I can't even do that tonight. Can't do that tonight at all. Can't do anything tonight. All right. Well, we got a few more things I want to shout out. Let's go back over here. So, where are you at? All right, there we are. So, we've been talking about this for many weeks on the streams now, and that is Amaranth Angel. Oh, did you just see that go up? Did you just see the money and the backers go up? That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Amaranth Angel is a cute girls flying starfighters manga, which its author Yakov Merkin is described as military moe. Take that as you will. I have been a big supporter of this. I've been backing this. I don't want to show my back pledge. I've been backing this since I first heard about it. I've fallen in love with this concept. It's a throwback to space operas, it's basically Top Gun in space, what I'm getting off with, the vibes of Top Gun in space. And if you're a military nerd, military nerds are one thing. Military geek like me, military history geek like me, you can have fun with cute anime girls flying around and starfighters. It's fun. It's going to be fun military times. Military's not fun, but this is fun. This is fun. So, once a friend reminder, Saya Nishizawa was a starfighter pilot prodigy, flying alongside her big sister Karina in the Amaranth Angels Performance Squadron, where they conducted elaborate flying demonstrations and competed in mock battles, which they nearly always won. Things were perfect until tragedy struck, and Karina lost her life in a sudden accident. Scarred by this, Saya wanted nothing more than to run as far from a starfighter cockpit as possible. So she resigned from the squadron, left Earth, and started anew at a new school on a space station near the edge of the solar system. However, fate has ways of forcing people back to their calling. When the station comes under attack by an unknown alien force, Saya and her friends, caught completely unprepared, need to take flight in order to survive. But when the smoke smoke clears, the five of them are stranded far from home and thrust into a far bigger fight than they could have ever imagined, flying to the action with the first 200-page volume of Amaranth Angels. And just yesterday, I mean, it was slow and steady the race, but just yesterday, the pledge goal crossed over the 13K mark, and I was very, very excited because that means I am going to likely get a physical copy of Amaranth Angels sometime in the semi near future. I think the tentative plan is for things to come out in July 2024. It's a year. What can go wrong in a year? So congratulations, Mr. Merkin, on reaching the pledge goal. I'm excited to see what you're going to do, what these books are going to look like, what some of the Brucey bonuses are also going to look like, because I believe he's offering standees of the characters down here. Yeah, yeah, you can get all 5 characters for $40. But I love this artwork, black and white artwork, and I'm excited to see what some of these ship designs are going to be like. And I've seen some other teaser images that he doesn't have here. There's quite the rogues gallery of characters, quite the variety of designs for characters, which makes me equally excited for what the various fighters are going to look like. I wonder if all the fighters are going to be different designs. Each kind of their own type of, I guess you want to say their own model for each of the characters' different personalities. And you know what? Should we should play the trailer. You know what? We're gonna play the trailer. Hold on one moment. I gotta do this. I gotta go pull the link off by itself. I gotta be all alone if I want to play the darn trailer. Technical fun times. No, I don't want to add another camera. Stop screen, present, share screen, share this, go to the window, the winder. Let's click you, and in theory, we should get some audio. Oh, I'm not even speaking. Just a few more hours ago before the fundraising for Amaranth Angels wraps up. Just 8 more hours. So if you want to get your hands on Amaranth Angels, get your hands on the first volume, possibly get some other Brucey bonuses like a standee of the character, or if you want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty and you want to purchase for an advertisement spots, which I sadly cannot do. I wish I can support Mr. Merkin with that much for this, but I sadly cannot. There is the link in the description. 8 more hours, guys. 8 more hours to support Amaranth Angels. All right. And one more final order of business since we are in the market of shilling tonight. Let me get this. All right, here we are. Yeah, we are. Yeah, that works. So you remember a few months back, we had Mr. Jim Abels of the NGP History Project, which is a living history organization dedicated to portraying the Pennsylvania National Guard throughout the late 19th, early 20th century. And this year in particular, they've had a focus on portraying the National Guard as they served during the Spanish American War. The Spanish American War was fought 125 years ago this year, and they are trying to raise some funds in order to put up some signage and to promote more about Pennsylvania's role in the Spanish American War. This is a conflict largely overlooked. It was a very brief conflict. Technically, it was only around for 10 months in 1898, but it had far reaching consequences, not just only for the United States, not just for Spain, but for the whole world. This was essentially the collapse of the Spanish Empire. The last vestiges of the Spanish Empire were gone after this, and this was the rise of the United States of America as an official world power. This year marks the 125th anniversary of the War of Spain. Pennsylvania sent free regiments of infantry, free batteries of artillery, and free troops of cavalry overseas, as well as sending other units to strategic locations to safeguard infrastructure necessary for national defense or war production. For the anniversary of the largest mobilization of state troops since the American Civil War, we'd like to support 5 sites with ties to the National Guard of Pennsylvania. Our goal is to raise a minimum of $5,000, dividing the total funds raised evenly between these locations to further their historical preservation and education. This includes the PA Capital Preservation Committee's flag collection, which these guys just opened a new education facility just a few weeks ago in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, a complete museum where people can go and research and actually see the battle flags of Pennsylvania regiments from the American Civil War, but also the Spanish American War and a few other conflicts. The Mount Gretna Area Historical Society, which preserves the history about the Spanish American War. In particular, the Pennsylvania National Guard mobilized at Mount Gretna for the Spanish American War when we sent troops down to the Mexican border to chase Pancho Villa around, and when the Pennsylvania National Guard was mobilized for the First World War. So Mount Gretna was the training grounds for these troops. And there's a large group, there was, how I want to say this, there's a lot of land out there where they were training, and there's not a lot of markers that tell you about the history that happened there. And what this fundraising campaign is attempting to do is to raise the funds necessary to set up interpretive signage at Mount Gretna Soldier Field. Fort Mott State Park, which is in New Jersey, and it was actually where the 14th Infantry Regiment of the Pennsylvania National Guard were located. They were protecting the Delaware River, in particular the DuPont factories along the Delaware River. Same thing goes for Fort Delaware, which is is a Delaware State Park. Delaware's Delaware. Everything's named after Delaware, not much more. No disrespect, Delaware. You got some cool history down there. You got was it Cooch's Bridge Battlefield, which is from the American Revolution. I've always wanted to go visit there. So some of the funding would go to Fort Delaware State Park, and some would go to the Pennsylvania Military Museum, where Theodore Bull of the Bull Troops, a mounted machine gun unit, was organized on his property in Bowlesburg, Pennsylvania. And this site has now become the shrine of the 28th Infantry Division, which is essentially was essentially the main fighting force for Pennsylvania during the First and Second World Wars. It's still an active unit. It's a lot of their legacy is now attached to National Guard units throughout the state. So, as you can tell, they haven't really got a lot of funding. These are a lot of obscure parts of Pennsylvania, American, and world history, so it's probably not getting the promotion it deserves. So, I am trying to shout this out. I'd love to see some funds be raised, especially for Mount Gretna, so historical signage can be put up there to make the average visitor understand what happened there. History is everywhere. And I know that's a very, very big link, but that's as best I can send it. All right, guys, you can tell my voice, I'm winded. Hopefully you guys had fun tonight. I was trying to do the best I can. I enjoyed doing the stream, though. I went down a complete rabbit hole there when we got to the Northwest Railway Museum. I have another railroad I was going to shout out tonight, but I'm like, one railroad. I think you guys can tolerate me geeking out over one railroad. I don't know about 2 railroads. So we'll save that at a railroad for next week's stream. So, if all goes according to plan, we should be live this time again, 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. If you have not done so already, be sure to hit the like button down below. It's right there. Because when you hit the like button, be it on YouTube or on Rumble, it lets that website know you like history videos. You want to see more videos about history. You want to learn about our shared past. And then you won't have to deal with videos like people reacting with bland reactions to people doing dumb stuff on TikTok. I mean, sometimes you want to watch people do dumb stuff, but not after several hours. Eventually, you need to get some nutrition in your brain, be it history. I don't know where I was going there. So hit the like button. Let the websites know that you want to see more videos like this. If you want to see more history videos from yours truly, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Readout Productions, be it on YouTube or on Rumble. And if you want to go the extra mile and support me, there is a link to my Ko-fi page in the description below. I greatly appreciate any support you give to this channel to help us live, explore, and preserve history. All right, we're hitting the music. There it is. Music's playing. Have a good evening, guys.